It's Missing Real.
With Mike Darrigo. Put on your 3D headphones now. Hey everyone, welcome back to a really special episode of Missing Real in 3D. But before you get the wrong idea, this is just stereo sound. It's not 3D, it's just a gimmick. But if you really want the 3D experience, you can have it. Just get somebody to run down the hall with your device and come running back towards you while you're playing this thing back. It might sound 3D to you. Or if you want like a great 360 surround experience, sit yourself down in a chair, put your device in front of you, and then get another 359 such devices playing the same content out from all around you and surrounding yourself. It'll be amazing, trust me, but just a little bit cost prohibitive. Alright, well, in all seriousness, thanks for coming along and checking out this episode about two movies you've probably never seen or even heard of, but if you have, you'll be in on the joke, and there are quite a few jokes to be had here. This is stuff from the 3D craze of the early 80s. We've got a whole slew of movies that came out in those times, but the two we're focusing on today are two really crappy Road Warrior ripoff kind of movies. Spacehunter, Adventures in the Forbidden Zone, followed by Metalstorm, The Destruction of Jared's Sin. Yeah, they've got long titles and colons, and your colon's going to get a workout watching these movies, trust me. And yeah, the longer the title, the more complex the art must be, right? Wrong. Alright, well, in the 80s, early 80s, we had a whole bunch of great 3D movies. Well, not really great, but fun if you like 3D and putting on these cheap cardboard glasses with the blue and red clear plastic in front of your eyes. Nothing like what we've got now in IMAX and Avatar type stuff. We're going primitive here. If you were to take these glasses off, you'd see everything blurry, doubled, outlined in red and blue. And it only works if you put the glasses on and don't put them on backwards. Or, I don't know, I think it'll be like -D or 1D. You gotta wear them right. You go blind if you don't use those glasses the right way, so be very careful. Alright, these movies, I saw most of them in the theaters, sadly, but they included stuff like Jaws 3D, Star Chaser, The Legend of Orin, which was a cartoon. Cartoons look okay in 3D also, I suppose, and they're a lot cheaper to make. Parasite, which was from the same film studio that gave us Metalstorm. And Parasite also featured a very young Demi Moore before she was indecently proposed to or started doing pottery with dead Patrick Swayze's. Amityville 3D, Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. Oh, there's so many numbers in that movie title, but that was a good one. And there's nothing more glorious than watching somebody's eyeball come flying out at you as their head's getting crushed by Jason. Yeah, that was a good one. And of course, the ultimate bad 3D movie that I can recall is Treasure of the Four Crowns, which is definitely a ripoff of... And it also involves an archaeologist going into booby-trapped tombs looking for treasures and stuff, except everything has to fly out at the audience. And, they did it so much better with Spielberg and Lucas and Harrison Ford. Snakes and things. Much better. I mean, there's a lot of fake snakes in Treasure of the Four Crowns, too, but I don't know. They just don't have the same credentials. They were not... None of them were nominated for an Oscar or anything like that. So yeah, let's get serious here, okay? We're talking about 3D science fiction crappy movies, and we're going to kick things off with Spacehunter, because I like Metalstorm better. Not only does Metalstorm have a better title, because, hey, Metalstorm, right? That sounds really dangerous. Like, Doc, look out! Or just a really good promotion for a concert. But Spacehunter... what could that be about? Some dude who hunts space? There's plenty of it out there, man. Have at it. It sounds pretty boring, but he's a space hunter. I guess he hunts in space, There's plenty of camouflage if you wear black and have little twinkly lights all over you. So this movie was directed, if you can call it that, by Lamont Johnson, who directed some old Twilight Zones on TV. And I guess that would give him some kind of, ability to bring to us some sort of a strange, mind-bending story, or just logic-bending, at least. Logically, why would we make a movie like this? The funniest shit about Spacehunter is its lead star is much less famous than everyone else in the movie. The lead is played by Peter Strauss, and he plays a character called Wolf. Wolf with an extra F at the end. Wonder what that stands for. You fill in the blanks yourself. So Peter Strauss, what was his acting career like? I really can't recall much, but he's been in a few things of note, such as like the Incredible Hulk TV show. He did some animated Batman stuff playing Plant Man, hurrah. Yeah, that's one of those Hall of Fame villain guys. He was in a 1995 Johnny Depp Christopher Walken movie Nick of Time, which was great. He was in Triple X State of the Union, and he played the president in that movie. So, that's already some great cred. You play a president, right? And his most recent stuff is just Grey's Anatomy. And there's not much more I can say on that topic. It's like DOA. Flatline once your career ends up over there, I'm sorry to say. I'm not a big fan. Sorry. So Peter Strauss is the star, and he's Wolf. The Spacehunter also has some cool backing. It was produced by Ivan Reitman. And Ivan Reitman, brought us all those great Bill Murray movies, Ghostbusters, and then some Arnold comedies like Twins and Junior and Kindergarten Cop. And, he's always got involvement in some great entertainment. So I guess this was just something he did on his day off or something. Not really sure. But there are some connections to Ghostbusters, which we'll find out soon. So stick with us. Who else is in the movie? We'll meet them as we go. Let's just focus on Peter Strauss for now, because, you're going to forget him anyway if I don't keep reminding you. And Peter Strauss, his character, is a blatant ripoff and a pretty bargain basement crappy cookie cutout carbon copy. How many adjectives can I throw in here? He's just like your bargain basement Han Solo. And he flies around some junk pile of a ship, and he's like, sloppy, and he wears like similar kind of clothing to Han. And the beginning of this movie, it starts off, of course, the titles have to fly out at you, and there's this music that's supposed to sound all triumphant and heroic, courtesy of Elmer Bernstein. And it's okay. Throughout the film, the music's not too bad. I always like to comment on the composer of a movie when their music is noteworthy or has a lot of good notes in it. And his score is not so bad. I'm just trying to figure out, what else did he do? He did some good stuff. He did the score for Saturn III, another crappy, cheap sci-fi movie that I also love and own on Blu-ray. An American Werewolf in London in 1981. Ghostbusters, not the song we all know, but he contributed other stuff, other music, and he also did the music for that really obscure Mark Hamill, Bill Paxton movie Slipstream, which I still want to see again on a proper format. And one day maybe I could do an episode on that, when people start seeing it and know what the hell it is. But as for Spacehunter, it starts off with the titles popping out into your eyes at the beginning, and of course the subtitle, Adventures in the Forbidden Zone, and while you're squinting and trying to read it, you see all these other things coming at you, like the really low-end, downtown section of hyperspace. All the stars are coming out at you, and all these little rings of nebulas go and stuff while they go by. It's really cheap and stupid, and these little stars go by. It's like really, trying to capitalize on this whole 3D thing. But before you run out of patience, the story begins. There's this cruise ship, a very cheap plastic model flying around, and suddenly it gets zapped by some errant lightning bolt coming out of some kind of gaseous nebulous storm, and then all these little escape pods start flying off, and they land on this crappy planet, and when the pods pop open, and these three figures come out in spacesuits, and all these packing peanuts fall out of the little cockpits with them, because you got to be protected as you're flying through space, landing on these crappy rock planets. These three beautiful women take their helmets off, and they were given a mild cryogenic, because, a 5-minute flight from space to the ground really needs you to go into cryogenic sleep, of course. Maybe they didn't know there was a planet right there, but that was the whole point of launching the damn escape pods, right? Okay, so follow me here. The logic, the writing is top-notch, as you can tell. So all these scavengers start coming out of the rocks, they're like relatives of the Jawas, I guess. Everything is Star Wars, Road Warrior ripoffs, and, there should have been so many lawsuits involved with this movie, but who wanted to bother? I don't think the studio had enough money to even pay a parking meter outside of the courthouse, much less a whole damn lawsuit and legal action. So here we go, all these Road Warrior ripoff vehicles start driving up, and these girls get picked up and kidnapped and abducted by these people. And we see Wolf in his ship, and, nothing works. His computer's all on the fritz, just like Hans, and he kicks the computer, and would you believe, when he kicks the computer, you hear like a little R2-D2 sound effect. Like it literally is like taken from Ben Burt's private audio library. And I would be up in arms about that, but just one little, so, don't worry about it. All right, so he can't fix his ship because he sucks at pretty much everything. So he has to wake up his co-pilot, played by singer Andrea Marcovici. She's kind of an actress, too. She was in the Michael Caine movie The Hand, directed by Oliver Stone, and she was pretty good in that. And a very good foil from Mr. Caine, and for him to yell at and get cheated on by as he got angry and, tried to clench the fist that was no longer attached to him. So that's a great role for her, and she's in a few other things. She's also in, guess what, The Incredible Hulk. I think everybody was on that show at some point. Everyone had to just, get their little moment to shine in the shadow of the big green guy. And she actually sang at Carnegie Hall in 1993. So I hope, having Spacehunter on her resume didn't delay that. She might have made it much earlier had she not been in this movie. And she doesn't sing in this movie, which is probably one of the reasons why it failed at the box office and at Carnegie Hall as well. I think they showed Spacehunter as a preview to her concert, just to make sure that there were still some available seats. So Andrea Marcovici is here. She plays Chalmers. Sounds a little bit like Chewie, doesn't it? And she is supposed to be sort of like the sidekick to Peter Strauss's fake Han Solo. And the same way that he would bark orders at Chewie, angle the deflector shields. here Wolf is like, Chalmers, fire up the engines. He's like a really dorky Han Solo wannabe. But in her defense, I'd say that Chalmers here, Andrea Markovici, has way nicer legs than Chewbacca. But, we've never seen Chewbacca shaven, so who knows what he's got under there. I digress. We don't think about things like that. Even the deleted scenes of Star Wars, we never see Chewie taking a shower or grooming himself, trimming anything. We don't want to know. He's just our pal. He's just our co-pilot, and we love him, and enough said about that. All right, so in this ship, Wolf finds out about these kidnapped girls, and then they're on this quarantine-restricted planet. Now, this is decades before COVID ever came along, and people wear even less breathing protection down there. And so it's pretty dangerous, and surprisingly, people still survive, but they all mutate. There's all kinds of weird mutants wearing all kinds of extra latex facial appendages and things like that. Really cheap, stuff that maybe one day would be done a whole lot better in Total Recall and, Mutantville, or whatever you call it, Venusville, with the mutants and the triple tit prostitutes and things like that. Sometimes when mutations go the right way, things like that happen. But in this movie, everything goes wrong. So Wolf is trying to get to this quarantine-restricted planet and go save these women. And, he's got his co-pilot there, and they land, and he gets out. He gets this little ship from inside the garage of his other ship. He's got this little, Jeep thing. It's called a Scrambler, all right? And he drives this Scrambler thing around, and he sees this rail boat with sails on it going down a track, like a train track. They're really innovative here on these quarantine-restricted planets. They come up with all kinds of crazy vehicles and things just hodged together out of different junk. So this is pretty interesting, decent, well-choreographed battle sequence where he climbs around this thing, and all these raiders are coming along on their little motorbike things and zapping lasers around, and Wolf there is trying to fight his way to the top of the ship and get up on the crow's nest and go like, ahoy there, or something, drop the anchor, whatever he has to do. Fights all these people. But anyway, the three women get snatched up by these hang gliders, and in the middle of the battle, Chalmers gets shot, and part of her face is melted away, and she's actually a robot. But companionship comes in many forms, and I don't know what Wolf's been up to in his ship, before the movie started, but oh well, what a loss there. And he remote control recycles her, and she melts and, gets all composted or whatever into the ground, and bye-bye Andrea Markovici. Go brush up on your scales now and take some voice coaching, and don't do any more sequels to Spacehunter, I hope. I'm sure that was in her contract. Just melt me in the first 10 minutes of the movie and move on. So Wolf is seeing what the hell he could do. And he doesn't make any friends because he has no charisma, despite how many stupid one-liners he drops. Nobody likes him. And some of the people he was trying to help, get the women back, they're also trying to get the reward. There's a reward out for them, aside from the fact that they're all very fetching. They're all in it for the money, or just to get off this damn rock. So he goes off and goes to this hut for no reason. He goes inside this hut. There's all skeletons and cobwebs in there. And then somebody's trying to steal his Scrambler. He's off to this great search and rescue here, but he hears his engine start outside. And guess what? Molly Ringwald pops up and is trying to steal his vehicle. So Molly Ringwald, of course, this movie came out just before she hit her big stride of movies, Pretty in Pink and Breakfast Club, 16 Candles. 1994's The Stand with Stephen King adaptation on TV was pretty good, but overall, Molly Ringwald in this movie is just really, really chatty, whiny, doesn't shut up for a second, and it does help bring one of the better lines of dialogue in the film. She's like, you're real lucky I'm here, that's all I gotta say. If that's all you got to say, I am lucky. But unfortunately, there's a lot more dialogue in this movie, most of it annoying. She's just a tracker, some little scavenger girl that has to help him find his way to this forbidden zone, because nobody knows where it is, except that it's forbidden, and find these girls that have been taken away. So he's riding his little Jeep there with Molly Ringwald, and she hasn't bathed in a long time, so she smells. She's not all pretty and pink. She's like dirty and dirt, or whatever it is. And she's been living on this rock for a while, and, hasn't been to the Sephora. There aren't any locations nearby. So the girls get delivered to the Forbidden Zone, and there's this creepy dude, this chemist guy. He's played by Hrant Aleniak, if I said it right. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. He's Armenian-Canadian. He appeared in a 1994 tech war movie, RoboCop TV series, and guess what else? Billy Madison. But otherwise, I have no idea who he is. He looks like a melted-faced Steve Martin trying to play Khan in Star Trek II. And he has a very strange accent, like he is some weird German filmmaker. And he says, oh, these girls are pretty much better than the last ones. Overdog is going to be so pleased. So they stick a needle in our faces to give these girls a mood enhancer. And these girls, they're really asking for it because they're wearing like these crotchless chaps and things. It's like, what do you expect? You're in your spacesuit. You're supposed to be protecting yourself from decompression, but like all your private parts are nearly exposed. So of course you're going to get kidnapped and taken to some human trafficking, sex slavery ring. Or whatever it is. So they're about to meet their fate, being brought to the big baddie, and we still have to go back and forth and see what's going on with Wolf and Nikki there. That's Molly Ringwald. And he dunks her in a pool and tries to shampoo her and wash her up a little bit. And then this big plow thing comes through, and we get to meet another decent actor. Washington is played by Ernie Hudson, and Ernie Hudson, of course, is one of the Ghostbusters, just not the one that you would think of immediately, but he's also been in some great movies. This dude has got like nearly 250 film credits, so you gotta give him some respect, and I'll just name maybe like 50 of them here, but he's also in The Incredible Hulk, The Octagon with Chuck Norris, Ghostbusters, Leviathan, Hand That Rocks the Cradle, The Crow. These are the good ones. I believe he was cast in Spacehunter because he had a resemblance to Billy D. Williams, and you need somebody charming to be in this movie, and, play sort of like the foil to the hero. So it's like the Han-Lando dynamic kind of comes in here, and they give each other a lot of sass and smart-ass remarks back and forth, and they can't really trust each other. Wolf throws his gun into the water, and he hasn't even, rinsed it out after Molly Ringwald, so he has to go diving for his gun, and Wolf and Nikki go off. They're trying to work together, but they don't want to split the reward money, that usual bullshit. So Wolf is wearing this watch. It just looks like a plastic disc with circuits and stuff on it. We don't know what it is. There's some wires and things. I just thought that's the best thing the prop department can come up with. Man, just give him a Rolex or something and just paint it a different color or put a couple of blinking lights on it at least if you want to be futuristic. Don't know. They go to the silo shelter and it's like these strands of old cotton candy hanging down from everywhere. We don't know what the hell it is, but it does not seem like a good place to sleep. That's exactly what they do. They bring the little aluminum foil sleeping bag in and they hear something moving around. And they're sleeping beneath a whole bunch of these cocoons full of these fat fuck dough people wearing oversized latex baby costumes, and they all start coming out of these cocoons and coming out of the little tubes in the bottom of the silo, and they're trying to get the hell out of there, and there's all these 3D rubber hands coming out at us. It's disgusting, and these guys are actually very easy to knock over, or you shoot them and they just deflate. So they get out of there. That was like a cheap little action scene we didn't like. But finally, we get to see what all the fuss is about with this Forbidden Zone and who's in charge of it. We meet Overdog, played by the great Michael Ironside, who'll always be bad guys or tough guys, and very rarely playing anybody heroic or cool, but we love him anyway, because he's just this cool-ass Canadian, and he's always doing cool shit as villains. Before this movie, he was in Scanners and Visiting Hours, and right after this same year, he started doing V, The Final Battle, playing Ham Tyler, very cool in that show, and sort of a good guy, but like a merc, so not the goodest of good guys. Top Gun. He did the voice of Darkseid in the Harley Quinn TV animated show, so this is all pretty decent stuff. And, Michael Ironside, he's got that great voice, yes. And he's a little bit Canadian, so he'll say, shut your mouth once in a while. Get out of my house. So he's Overdog. This character, what a great name too, but originally the character was going to be called King Creep or some stupid shit like that. The movie's got enough against it already. Let's not name the villain King Creep, please. Alright, yeah, Overdog's fine. So the chemist brings these girls to Overdog. He goes, I bring you something. What is it this time, chemist? And he sees Earth Girls. So he likes this, and he's stuck behind a glass. All right, Michael Ironside, he's not really himself in this movie. He's kind of like half man, half machine, another ripoff. But he's like half man, half egg beater. He's got these two big giant metal claws on his hand, kind of like cranes you might see picking shit up at a junkyard or in a little toy carnival thing. And he's got these little claws, and I don't know what else he could do. He's on a crane that just moves him around behind the glass, and we don't know yet if he comes out of this glass booth or not. But he sees the Earth Girls, and he wants a striptease, like, undress them. Slowly. So they start getting undressed, peeling off their Velcro shit, and we don't see much else because this movie's PG. And we got Wolf and Nikki still trying to find them. They go to this little shallow water place, trying to drive through, and she's guiding him through so that this little truck thing doesn't fall in and sink in the water. And it's pretty shallow. They're walking in ankle deep, but all of a sudden, all these water women come out from under the water, like, Aquaman's sisters or something, and they try to capture them and bring them down under the water, and they pull Molly Ringwald down, and then all of a sudden, it's like 30 feet deep, and it's like nets under there, and they hang them up, and this giant sea snake made out of rubber comes out, and Wolf shoots it, and the women wanted to mate with him and stuff. He probably should have, but, we gotta move on with the plot and everything. I don't even know who any of them were. They're like mermaids without tails. They just swim in women, as they were called. They go out, we don't know how they get out, but there's this little hatch, and they're on a beach with poisoned water, and Wolf, he starts waxing poetic. He's like, water, water everywhere, not a drop to drink. What's that? It's a poem. What's a poem? Good writing, something that we're severely lacking around here. But eventually they run into some old pals from the beginning of the movie. They run into Ernie Hudson. So while they're trying to figure out, okay, we could finally team up, there's suddenly this creepy chorus of mutant kids above them on the hills, and they're like making all these little whiny noises, and they start throwing Molotov cocktails and blowing everything up. These kids are nowhere near drinking age, and they're tossing these Molotovs down, blowing everything up. You gotta run, get out of there. Ernie's plow gets fucked up again. Can't keep that thing in one piece. Him and Wolf are just like two peas in a pod. Can't keep any of their equipment running. So they finally get to this damn graveyard place outside the Forbidden Zone. It's a castle made out of scrap metal, and there's the games inside. There's all these tournaments and stuff, and all the prisoners have to go through this like maze. It's like American Gladiators kind of thing where you could die everywhere, and everything's sharp and acid bubbling and tightrope things you have to walk on. And Ernie Hudson makes note, "We've come a long way from Monday Night Football." Well, there is a bit of decent writing in this movie. So Nikki gets captured, of course, and Wolf has to rescue her, and he uses his little watch thing. It's actually a detonator. He blows things up, and then Overdog sends everybody into the maze, and they start dying. And of course, Molly Ringworm has to go in, but she's very agile, and she could hop around and climb shit. So she goes in there. Into the maze! And she goes in, and she survives everything. And then there's a big rescue, and Wolf and his pals rescue the women, and free a whole bunch of other people in there. And now, when Molly Ringwald gets out of the maze at the very end, Overdog comes down on his little crane thing. "You survived the maze." And she thinks she's going to go free, but he's like, "I lied." He takes her in his little claw things and carries her into this tube, and all these lights start going off. It's this really cheap special effect that's supposed to be a thing that drains your energy out. So he goes, "I need your energy." All these things start zapping her. "Please just let me go." "I can't do that. If I do, you'll make all those horrible John Hughes movies. Hate them." Starts sucking all her energy out. And then Wolf and his pals come in, and there's a big showdown finally when Wolf gets there. And he frees Nikki, starts shooting his little rocket gun at Overdog, and Overdog comes out of his little cage there, and he's flying around on his crane. And in this big climactic showdown between Wolf and Overdog, we find out that Overdog's claws, they're useful for more than just picking up tiny stuffed animals. Yes, they fire fireballs. Wolf is shooting his little rocket gun at him, and he gets one lousy, cheap hit, and Overdog just stiffens, and his crane brings him down, and we think he's defeated already. So stupidly, Wolf walks over, and then a claw comes out in 3D. We're all terrified, and grabs Wolf and pushes him down to approximately crotch level in Overdog's mechanical body. "The women could not help me. Let's see what you can do, Eartha." "I don't even know which knob to suck, which thing to twist." So before, Overdog kills Wolf with his claw thing, of course there's a handy electrical wire fizzing right nearby within reach, and he just sticks it in Overdog's claw, electrocutes the shit out of him, and boom, everything starts blowing up. The entire scrap metal castle starts falling down around him, because that's how these movies all have to end. One little short circuit and everything comes down. So they all gotta get out before this thing crumbles, and you have to make a new junkyard out of it the next day. So they all escape, and it's a happy ending of sorts, and Molly Ringwald finally gets accepted, and, she'll take up residence with Wolf and his crappy ship for a while. Trust words? Yeah, alright, whatever. They come with all this new dialogue. What brain working? No, not much. Since this movie started, and it's just terrible, and then the ship lifts off from the ground for like a split second because you don't want to see the cables, and it's just very cheap, and that's how it ends, basically. I don't know, we're just glad it's over, and it would have been great if Overdog didn't die, or if he actually survives this film and he has like a different future ahead where he gets a job in an arcade at a children's amusement park, and they get to remote control him and his claws and try to win prizes. "Imbecile, you failed. You dropped the unicorn. Insert another dollar and try again." Mommy! That would be very good. I'd love that. But yeah, that's it. Spacehunter never had a sequel, nor should it. We never saw much more of Wolf. But of course, Molly Ringwald went on to teen movie stardom. Ernie Hudson busted some ghosts. Ivan Reitman, produced some great stuff. Harold Ramis was actually the voice on the intercom in Wolf's ship, which is about the only redeeming quality it had after he lost Andrea Markovici. So this movie, it was released 1 week before Return of the Jedi, just to try to get somebody to buy a ticket. That was a very smart marketing move. I got to applaud them for that. Because once Jedi came out, nobody would want to go see Spacehunter, for crying out loud. God. Although, in Jedi, we didn't know if we were going to get Han Solo back, so this was like the next best thing. We had Wolf instead. Small sip of water before we move on to our next film. Alrighty, so this brings us to our second 3D bad Road Warrior ripoff movie, Metalstorm, The Destruction of Jared Sin, from also 1983. Directed by Charles Band, who also brought us great stuff like Parasite and lots of other movies from Empire Pictures and later on Full Moon features. These are all really bad, schlocky, direct-to-video sci-fi horror things, and culminating in brilliant stuff like Reanimator, From Beyond, and of course, Evil Bong. So one of the coolest things about Metalstorm, I'm going to start telling you about it right away, is the music from Richard Band, Charlie's brother, who does a lot of good scores for some of these cheap movies, but this music sort of rises far above the quality of the source material. I mean, it's actually pretty catchy and good throughout the film, and it really helps you pass the time while characters are just walking and driving aimlessly through the bushes and dust and dirt for hours, but it's kind of epic. It sounds like it's going to be really good. The movie opens and there's clouds, the words pop out, the clouds shatter. I don't know how clouds can shatter, but they do. Like a pane of glass, psh, the little shards coming at you. And there's that music, right? It's pretty good, isn't it? Listen, it's pretty rousing. It's kind of a rip-off of James Horner, though. There's a lot of sections here, that sound a little bit like Star Trek 2. But hey, come on, it works. It's good. It fills in this movie, and you have to sit through these opening credits and just listen to this good music while they rattle off all these household names of people. I can tell you who some of these actors are. Our lead actor in this movie is Jeffrey Byron. Jeffrey Byron actually has some interesting family connections. He's the stepson of author Robert Nathan and the godson of director John Ford. So he's been in a bunch of 70s TV. He was in Wonder Woman, BJ and the Bear. And later on, he starred in 1984's The Dungeon Master and showed up on an episode of T.J. Hooker in 1986. And speaking of Shatner and Kirk connections, he actually played the instructor who gave the Kobayashi Maru in 2009 Star Trek. Oh, come on, this music, man. Just listen to it. It's great. I'm loving it, man. All right, let's get off this. I'll listen to the soundtrack after I'm done with this recording, and we'll get back to it. Yeah, okay, sorry about that. I'm a music buff, so, if a movie sucks and the music doesn't, it kind of gets me torn. I'm on the fence about whether or not I should recommend this film. Just watch it with your eyes closed. And never mind the 3D glasses, you don't even need them. Although Metalstorm, when released on home video by Shout Factory, actually comes with a 3D Blu-ray. So if you missed this in a theater and didn't sit through it twice like I did, you have the joy of doing it at home now, and no one has to know. I don't think anyone else knew I saw it in the theater because it was pretty fucking empty, but, I went with one of my buddies, and we just loved any of this cheap sci-fi garbage. We'd watch almost anything, in between Star Wars movies. What else you got? It doesn't matter how low budget or derivative it was. We ate it all up. We loved it all, man. So, I was talking about Jeffrey Byron, man. Yeah, he was in, Star Trek in 2009, the one with Chris Pine, and gave the Kobayashi Maru test. It's like an epic, very important pivotal scene, and he's just there for a few seconds. But that was Jeffrey Byron, man. He plays Dojin, a ranger in this movie, which sounds like a great job. And it really isn't. He just drives around in the dusty desert hills and tries to find bad guys and restore peace to this really deserted, desolate area. I don't know. This is society in the future. It's very dystopian and dusty, and Mad Max is too far away to really give a shit about any of it. So Dojin's driving around in his little Jeep thing, which looks a lot like the crap they were driving around in Spacehunter, but, maybe a little more pimped out. I don't know. It's crap. It makes a lot of bad engine noises and stuff. I'll try to make this interesting for you, because it's really not. Other than this great music, what else can I recommend about this movie? All right, so Dojin's driving around in his little Jeep, and he has a helmet on inside the Jeep. The helmet's all scratchy. I don't know how he sees. And he's being watched from above by a Cyclops, which is just a guy with two eyes, and one of them is just covered in latex. So you get this aerial view, so somebody's flying after him, and you hear this shh, like this jet engine, and then all of a sudden, Dojin's little Jeep drives across the screen, and a little cardboard cutout ship flies right behind him. It's terrible, cheap special effects. It's like somebody just cut out a picture of a little sea-doo and put it on a clear piece of plastic and just slid it across the camera lens. It's really, really cheap. The movement's terrible. All right, so this guy's shooting at him with lasers and stuff and blows up his little gun, and somehow, Dojin gets one shot off and it misses, but then the guy still crashes into a mountain anyway. So, great flying there, and Dojin goes to the rubble and picks up this little red crystal thing. It looks like one of those crystal things you stick inside a Sith lightsaber. And, he keeps it to investigate. What's going on with these crystals here? Must be a sign. And then we follow another set of characters, a father and daughter prospecting team. And the daughter is played by the beautiful and late Kelly Preston. This, of course, was one of her very first movies. And thankfully, she did others afterwards, because this didn't completely sink her entire career. And she, it was funny that I saw her on Jay Leno's show, and he dug out a clip from this movie just to kind of embarrass her, but she took it in stride. And, I'd be proud, too, to be in Metalstorm. There's really not much metal in it. Well, actually, everything's metal in it, but, the music is not. There's no metal. I don't know. it sucks. There's a Slayer song. There's a Slayer song called Metalstorm, so you can enjoy Metalstorm in just like maybe 3.5 minutes. Much better than Metalstorm the movie, if you're interested. So, all right, they're prospecting and chipping away at these rocks, and she finds this big whopper of a white crystal. Like, Father, look. He goes, oh, Diana, we're rich. Let's go look at it in the light. So they go outside in the light, and then he hears some engines. He tells her to go back inside. Then these jeeps roll up, also very low budget, and we meet one of the baddies, Ball, played by R. David Smith. Now, R. David Smith is a stuntman who was born missing part of his left arm, but they make the most of that in this movie because they stick this prosthetic metal clampy thing on his left arm that he could extend and stick out in 3D, and he uses it to squirt green paint on people, and he shoots his green paint on the dad here, and it sort of just paralyzes you, and it sizzles a little bit, and then he goes into this trance, and he sees an even badder bad guy, played by Mike Preston. No relation to Kelly Preston, by the way. Now, it's confusing. I really thought they might have been, related when I saw it, because, what do I know? I'm just a kid with no imagination. But you can't blame me, because in Duran Duran, 3 band members are named Taylor, and yet are not related. And what's more, no one in the band is named Duran. So it's so damn confusing. And the same shit with Metalstorm. But, alright, so Kelly Preston and Mike Preston, not related. But they're in the same movie. I'm sure they're proud of that. So Mike Preston, the good thing about Mike Preston is he was actually in The Road Warrior, and I guess he didn't bother to tell everybody, guys, you're ripping off a whole bloody Australian landmark movie here, and that's okay. Let's just try to cash in. I mean, I think our vehicles are different, theirs are Japanese and ours are German, so engineering is completely different. Don't worry, they won't notice. So alright, so Mike Preston here sticks a crystal on the dad's neck, and steals his soul. And then, Kelly Preston is staying inside the cave for a while until Dojin comes by and finds her. Well, Mike Preston, he's the leader of the bad guys, and that's Jared Sin. Jared-Sin, whatever it stands for. And there's this crystal cult, they're into holistic medicine and whatnot, and they rile up all these nomads and try to gather all the land and be the kings of it and everything. And there's really no kingdoms, it's just rocks. So, rocks and tents, and that's your kingdom. And if you want to rule all that, the tumbleweeds and everything, good for you, man. What a warlord, it's worth fighting over, definitely worth flying in these crappy cardboard cutout ships and dueling with each other for the entire movie. Over what? A bunch of bushes and rocks. Okay, so after Jared Sin sticks his red crystal in our faces, just get a good look at it and the details and the carving and stuff, we cut to Dojin finding Diana here at the site, and they bury her dad after there's a little bit of initial mistrust, but she's gonna go with him, because I hunt Jared Sin, I'm on your side. And meanwhile, Jared Sin is at his camp getting all these force twinges, I feel the presence. Someone comes to challenge us. Yeah, you know who it is? It's the film industry, and you're gonna lose. So he has a box of crystals, and he starts handing them out to all his followers, take 2, they're great, they go great with wine and cheese, and they start giving them out. Go and seek out and take the land that is yours, and whatever. He gives all these, inspiring speeches and stuff, he has his rallies and his campaigns and everything, and nobody has their faces visible. Everyone's wearing, a sash around their face or a big bug helmet. So we really don't even care who these extras are. They're just people, and they're all probably going to just crash into mountains when they try to fly their ships around. So now Dojin's driving around without a helmet on. It doesn't, sometimes he has his helmet on inside the car, sometimes he doesn't. It's you're not on, the Indianapolis 500, man. It's not NASCAR, just whatever. It's just a bunch of dust. You need all the visibility you could get. Take your fucking helmet off. It's probably hot, too. And, Kelly Preston's not wearing a helmet. She's got her blonde hair all blowing around, and her eyeshadow is perfect for the entire movie. I don't know where she gets this crap. I didn't see any beauty parlors anywhere. But they do find a settlement with this weird old guy who zaps the crystals with a laser, and he tries to find out what kind of crystal this thing is, and he zaps it with his little ricochet thing, just shoot it, straight up. I have to do all this ping ricochet garbage, put in these cheap special effects and nobody is impressed by. And he zaps the crystal and it goes, that's what I was afraid of. It's a storage crystal. Storage of what? Bad movie plots. But it's got the souls inside of it, whenever it touches somebody, and Jared Sin uses it to suck out the power of people and whatever it does. I really don't know. And then he feeds it to this big crystal and whatever. It just helps make him more popular amongst the nomads, because he could do this neat little magic trick. It's probably all just smoke and mirrors and somebody off, behind another rock going, it's their souls. Who knows? But they're fooled very easily. All right, so they decide to go seek out some other tracker guy, another dude who knows what he's doing and knows the lands and stuff. But that's right, that's where the movie gets better. So they're driving to this other town to try to find something, and they get chased by old Ball and his stupid road warrior guys, and they're just driving alongside and following, but they're not even trying to hit him or shoot him, and Ball is standing on this little cannon on top of the car that he never once uses. He just stands behind his cannon with his little angry face. He doesn't really speak, but when he does speak, I always forgot about this. This is like the best thing. He doesn't like move his mouth or anything. The only really interesting thing is that robot arm he's got, but he'll talk, and you'll get this really weird, like whiny whistle noise when he's about to speak. It's,
"You're on forbidden land.
or,
Your death is near, warrior."
That's all he does. He says some really stupid lines, and they echo, and sounds like he's coming out of a transistor radio, but, he doesn't really speak. I guess they don't have to worry about lip syncing or cutting things in ADR and all that stuff, the audio looping. It's very simple, get this movie done quick, put it out into the theaters before Return of the Jedi makes any money. And, they're being chased, sort of, but every single one of these other vehicles ends up flying off the road and going down cliffs and blowing up. About 4 or 5 of these Jeeps just end up in flames and rubble at the bottom of a mountain. And Dojin and Diana just go on their merry way. Bal is all pissed off. Can't get good help around here. I'm sorry.
Can't get good help around here.
Oh, but finally, at the end of this drive, we see, where's Bal? Where'd he go? And they get blockaded by him, and he steps out of his car.
"Welcome, warrior. Welcome to your death."
And squirts his little Nickelodeon green paint shit on Dojin's pants. And that's it. He's like completely immobilized. He's like rendered helpless and just falls down to his knees with a stupid pants stain. And he jizzed in green on his pants by accident. And he just starts zapping, and Kelly Preston starts helping him zap and shoot at everybody. And they drive away scared before the paint really gets to dry. And then Dojin is like all cuddled up with her, and she's holding on to him because he's so mortally wounded by the green slime. And they have a little fire going, and there's a vision. Like he gets visited by very slow motion Mike Preston in this ridiculous puffy costume with fake muscles, kind of like one of those old Batman costumes that you could inflate and looks like you work out. And he tries to pull Dojin away, but Kelly Preston's really strong and he can't tug him free. So he goes, "Together you're strong, but I'll separate you, destroy you both." Man, this is like thespian level acting going on here. So you see Jared Sin sitting there brooding behind a fire for like 45 seconds and like this really slow shot that never cuts. And did anyone just tell the cameraman, all right, we got it, cut? Just sitting there. And then finally, things happen. He makes Kelly Preston disappear. He does some magic, and he makes Kelly Preston, like he beams her over to his camp. All of a sudden, like she screams and turns red, like, energize. And Dojin's like some really good acting for like 2 seconds. Like he's really like emotionally charged up all of a sudden because like now no one can hug him anymore. And she reappears and transports into Jared Sin's camp, and then he goes, "I'll destroy your world. Without you he's nothing." And he holds out this little crystal figurine monster guy, and then the crystal figurine monster guy reappears in front of Dojin. And it's this big glowy crackle zap monster that fights in slow motion. And as soon as Dojin bends over, it shoots this lightning bolt over his head, and then he gets back up again. And when it's about to swing, it signals it, like it telegraphs every move so he can dodge. And it's a very poorly choreographed fight sequence, and Dojin can't stop it. And then he finally gets this little stream of water trickling down, and the stupid monster steps in it, short circuits and disappears. Like, okay, special effects department can rest now. I go take lunch. I'm sure that took you days to accomplish. So now he's got no girlfriend for a while. Jared Sin's got Kelly Preston there, captive, still trying to find out if they're related or not. "Go with power, Bal. I am with you." And Bal is like sitting somewhere else in some faraway mountain, and you hear him going,
"I will not fail you, Father."
Apparently there's telepathy in this movie too. They have like a Bluetooth or something. They could talk to each other. I don't even know. But like there's a really close bond between people. So, you gotta follow along. It helps make this movie and his characters that much more believable. Alright, so at this point, Dojin has to go find some help. So he hits this outdoor flea market, Renaissance fair kind of thing, and some kids follow him. "What do you do, mister?" "I'm a ranger." "Yeah, it's lame." And he goes into this tent bar, and he gets this bartender friend of his, and nobody else seems to like him. Everyone's giving him the evil eye. And he goes like, "I'm looking for this guy named Rhodes. You know him?" "He's right over there." All right, thanks a lot. Sounds like Kathleen Turner or something behind the bar there. But he goes and sees the only other decent actor in the whole freaking movie, Tim Thomerson, playing Rhodes. And he's sitting on the floor. This bar is so crappy, you can't even get a seat to sit at and drink your drink. You gotta sit on the floor like Indian style, like a little kid with a little plastic table in front of you. I guess, the drinks are so expensive they can't afford anything else. Can't get the chairs. It's definitely a dive bar, so Dojin has to crouch down, sit next to him, and pour him in more cheap booze. So Tim Thomerson is like really cool, and we know him, or some of us might, if we follow Full Moon and Empire Pictures shit. He's Jack Death from the Trancers movies. Trancers movies were great. Also rip-off city, because they're more or less derivative of Blade Runner and futuristic detective movies where the guy dresses in a trench coat and looks like Sam Spade, and, very minimal special effects and cool shit. But, Thomerson has a lot of charm, and is a very gruff kind of, no bullshit kind of guy, and smoking his cigarettes and whatever he does. And, he's just cool, and he was in excellent stuff. He was a former stand-up comedian, and he made his motion picture debut in Car Wash, 1976, served a little time in the National Guard Reserves with Brian James. There's another Blade Runner connection, but a much cooler one. The Trancers, 1984. Right after this, he was in Iron Eagle. He's in Near Dark, 1987. Great movie by Catherine Bigelow, one that I love very much. And then, of course, he played in this very cheesy TV version of Down and Out in Beverly Hills, taking over the Nick Nolte character of Jerry. But I watched it because he was just cool. And there was a whole bunch of bad Trancers sequels, worse and worse and worse, until finally they just wrote in some character to be his daughter and just inherited his personality, so he really didn't even have to be in the movie. And good move on your part there, Timmy boy. And we have Dojin and Rhodes, and Rhodes is nah, I'm not helping you out. I'm not going to the Forbidden Zone, old Cyclopses and crap. I'm done with that. I'm going to sit on my ass on the floor here and drink. So Dojin goes outside and finds people beating up a Cyclops. That's not nice. Don't do that. And these guys turn around in slow motion, and he has this slow showdown, this music's playing. And everyone's moving really slow, looking back and forth at each other, and you see the hands going to the holster and unfastening things, and it's going to be a shootout, so just get on with it, man. Just move. So finally somebody draws, and Dojin's faster, and then he gets his gun zapped out of his hand. Hits the floor in slow motion. You hear this brooding, ominous music, like the guy's about to shoot him. He's pointing his gun in slow motion, so slowly that Tim Thomerson has time to finish his drink, pay his tab, come outside, and zap the guy before he even gets his gun aimed, and the guy falls down, and turns around to Dojin, he flips his gun around like a gunslinger. You're gonna be trouble. Yep, and so is this movie, but you're on board now, so let's go. So they drive to the Cyclopean burial grounds, which are marked by a twig sticking out into the camera in 3D. So alright, we see bushes sticking out at us, that's great. They just try to stick things out in your eyes just to keep you awake, or poke you and wake you up during this movie, because it starts getting a bit slow. They have to walk through all this fog and sand, and there's a cool statue there, and the statue's got this little mask in a box. So Dojin picks up this little crystal mask, it's kind of cool. But meanwhile, they're being followed in the sand by these little slithery bumps. It's like Tremors, but like a miniature version of Tremors, or Dune. But anyway, it's just these little rubber snakes that are probably just like hand puppets coming out of the ground, biting them on the ankles. That latex hurts. And then they start getting sucked down into the sand, and Dojin gets his gun and shoots the stupid rubber snake, and they get out, and they're running, and they run into an ambush. There's a bunch of Cyclopses standing there, and thank God, one of them is played by Richard Moll. From Night Court, yes, Bull, from 1980s TV sitcom or courtroom comedy Night Court that we all love. Now, Richard Moll's really tall, bald-headed dude, plays lots and lots of tough villains. He's kind of like Michael Ironside's taller brother, I suppose, because he's always the baddie in lots of shit, even back to 1980s Buck Rogers TV. He's also in one of my absolute favorite sword and sorcery movies called, can you guess, The Sword and the Sorcerer, which may deserve its own Missing Real episode itself one day, playing Zusha, this demon guy. He's really good in that. And later on, him and Jeffrey Byron will meet again in The Dungeon Master, which is actually a much better movie than Metalstorm, but it still borrows the entire premise with the stupid Road Warrior cars for one of its sequences, because that's how cheap and lazy the writers are. He was in House in 85. That's Richard Mulligan, by the way. And one of the coolest things is he was the very first villain to appear on the 1992 Highlander TV series, the one and only appearance of Christophe Lambert. And that's it. After that episode, that show got stupid too. But Richard Moll, got his villain stamp on that as well. And he auditioned in 1993 for the role of Gul Dukat in Deep Space Nine, which would have been awesome if he was in that. And did the voice of Two-Face in a Batman series animation thingy. And he's good. He still does some stuff, but I guess he's done with these B-movie horror things. But good to have him on board. He plays Hurok, a Cyclops guy, but the only one with a personality. So since these guys were caught trying to steal this crystal mask, which is the only valuable these Cyclops people got, they have to fight. They have to have a duel. You must meet me in the pit. If you live, you go free. So they're in the pit, and they have these sai. You know these martial arts weapons, right? They're sai. These little silver sword thingies you hold in your hand, and they're about as sharp as a pool cue. They look really deadly. And then they're having this thing where they have to hold a rope between them, like a little mini tug-of-war, while the other hand uses the sai to fight your opponent. So they fight a little bit, and apparently they trained with karate and jujitsu masters for months just to get this stupid little 30-second fight scene down, which really sucks. And the most impressive move is, look out! Man, he sticks the sai right out at the camera and almost pokes us in the face, man. But it's alright, we wouldn't be injured. It would just bounce off, probably. So anyway, Dojin cheats by slashing the rope with his very, very blunt sai, and cuts it. Richard Moll falls, and he spares Richard Moll's life, because we really need decent actors in the movie to carry on any further. So, Richard Moll's all cool. Go in peace. But they're both looking for Jared Sin, right? Richard Moll might want to hook up with Jared Sin, because his gang has nothing better to do, and they have no imagination or ambition. And Dojin's, of course, trying to rescue Kelly Preston and kill the bastard. The other Preston. Go in peace. Which won't last very long, because as soon as they drive away over the hill, Ball and his gang is already chasing him again, and he's still standing behind those guns that he just refuses to fire. And then there's a couple more zaps of the laser. Tim Thomerson's helping out. All the cars start flipping and falling down the mountainside. It's like, where did they get these cars from, man? They just build them back up again and drive up the hill. They get a crane or a tow truck somewhere. I don't know, but it's the same shit. The same vehicles keep coming back after they've been destroyed. So this dude hits a rock, goes through the windshield while he's driving. It's like every single possible mishap that you can have while being a very terrible driver happens to the bad guys as they're chasing. They get a little bit of a pause and a respite from all this bullshit, and Dojin decides to try the mask on, and he has a vision. He's in this dark place, and there's a tree there, and he has no shirt on, I guess, because, it's time to show off whatever he gets to do in his spare time in the gym. And he picks up an axe, and he chops it into the side of the tree, because the tree starts bleeding, and then he looks at it sideways. He has this look in the movie, all the time, when he opens up his engine to see what the hell's wrong with his Jeep, and whenever he sees a crystal light up, or he sees this tree bleed, he turns his head a little bit and gives it a look. It's are we in Zoolander or some shit? Is that blue sand, rusted steel that you're doing right there? It's come on, cut it out, man, pretty boy. Just put your shirt fucking back on, and go back out and help Rhodes, and go get Kelly Preston and end this damn movie already. So he takes the mask off, and after he has this vision, he's like, what the fuck was that? And all of a sudden, he hears,
"Your death is near, warrior."
and this really dangerous, exciting music comes on, and they're surrounded by more of the bad guys, except they're on foot this time, so they should be fine. And then Ball and this other dude, Cyclops guy, are walking towards him, and Tim Thomerson's like, shit, man, you know what? I'm gonna fight them, and he pushes Dojin out of the way, and then Ball is about to aim his arm, and this other Cyclops guy flings this little metal dryer ball thing with spikes on it, and it's probably also, not dangerous, but it looks in 3D, it's hard to tell, it comes at you so fast. I was too busy ducking to really see how sharp it looks, but it hits Tim Thomerson right in the head, and he falls down, and Dojin is pissed. He gets up and starts shooting everybody. He shoots the dryer ball thrower guy, and he's shooting everybody except Ball. And Ball comes up to him, and they start having a little fist fight really quick, but he grabs Ball, and he starts hitting him and giving him fucking kidney shots and rabbit punches, and he grabs his arm, and he twists around and rips the fucking arm off, and he flings it right at us in 3D. This is the best part of the whole movie, because you're seeing Dojin screaming in rage, and the fucking arm is flying at you, and Ball is like, and all the green paint is dripping out of his stump, and then the camera angle changes to a wide shot, okay? On the right side, you got Ball crying, and if you look over on the left, you got Dojin looking off screen at the limb he just threw at us, and he's still yelling, still got his mouth open, he's still looking at that damn arm he threw away. It's like he just is so angry at that arm. It looks hilarious, man. It's like it's a perfect freeze frame. It should be the poster for the movie. It's great. And then Ball runs away, cradling his drippy green paint arm. And he leaves a trail of green paint, which is very easy to follow. So now we can find the stupid camp that they all hang out at. We check on Tim Thomerson. He's okay. Yeah, he'll be fine. Just needs a little, Band-Aid or something on his wound. He says, that's right, you go finish the mission, whatever. So we don't know if he's going to die or not, but of course he's not, because he's the only cool dude in the whole movie, right? So Dojin goes to the camp. Jared Sin is giving a big speech. He is the one who wants to take all your land. Dojin comes back at him. He lies. He's the one who wants all the land and the power. And suddenly the politics shift completely. All the Cyclopses who are going to go with Jared Sin are like, maybe this guy's got a point. Let's listen to this dude and dressed up like Mad Max with the mask in his hand. And Ball sees him, comes up to him.
You're dead, warrior.
Hey, you okay there, Ball? You look a bit stumped. Yeah, Jared Sin wants the Cyclopses to just take out Dojin. He's like, kill him, you rock. Let him speak. I alone am your master. You. My master. He lost his vote. Jared Sin is pissed off, like he's not going to let anyone knock him off his own rally here. So he goes up to the crystal. You're all too late. I have the power of the crystal. He points at Dojin, and this big crystal behind him starts shooting lasers at him. But Dojin has that nice crystal mask, and it works as a perfect deflector shield, and shoots the lasers in a different direction. Yeah. Jared Sin's like, huh? And he fires another one, and it gets reflected into a tree, and the tree catches fire. And then all of a sudden, all this religious stuff starts. It is the sign, a burning tree. And Dojin starts feeling weak all of a sudden. Death is calling. Surely you must hear it. Dojin's gonna die now because he set a tree on fire. Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. But meanwhile, Kelly Preston, she walks up and goes, I am with you, Dojin. I am here. And all of a sudden, he's invigorated. He stands back up again with his big, wide eyes, giving him the Zoolander look. So he still tries to fire the stupid crystal lasers. This is getting frustrating now. And finally, Ball just comes over and knocks the mask out of his hand and shatters on the ground. Richard Mole gets pissed about that and stabs Ball in the stomach, I think. And he's crying, he's dying, and Jared Sin's like, no! pew, and he disappears. Like, where'd he go? Don't even try to help, man. Fuck. So Dojin just runs to the nearest flying scooter Sea-Doo wave runner thing and starts taking off in some very terrible special effect cardboard cutout manner and flying around. And how did he know where the hell Jared Sin was? I don't know, just a hunch, I guess. So Jared Sin is flying away on his own little bike thing in the sky, and Dojin is chasing him. And he's firing lasers and trying to stop him and shoot him down. And he's literally 10 feet behind him, and he keeps missing. What kind of a ranger are you, man? What the hell do you do for a living anyways, man? Why do you have all these guns and shit? Who knows? So he's firing, pew, pew, and he misses, and then they go through all these different canyons and stuff, and finally they're over this open plain, and Jared Sin's like, Dark Lords of Set, open the way, and this little black vortex opens up, and all these stupid psychedelic lights start shooting by like a really bad LSD trip, and Dojin is still behind him, and there's all this noise and lights and stuff going on, and tripping out and stuff, and he's firing and can't hit him, and he does this 360-degree spiral twist thing, because that's really gonna help. You can't even aim going straight. What the hell are you doing there, dude? And the special effects, that's the best they could do to impress us, I guess. Ooh, look, he did a spiral. Ooh, he's doing a corkscrew. Wow. So Jared Sin starts buzzing and glowing, and he disappears, and the vortex disappears, and the screen turns back to the open plain again, and Dojin's like, where is he? He's just flying. So he has to land and go back to the stupid camp, and wherever he is, he'll be trapped, and I'm going after him. But yeah, why? How are you gonna do that? And if he's trapped, just leave him be. What's your problem, man? It's the pride, man. That pride sticking in. Just finish him. Just go walk off into the sunset with Kelly Preston. Why don't you, all right? After he blasts the crystal to smithereens, because that's probably how Jared Sin gets in and out of his little vortex zone. So we don't really know what the hell's going to happen, but apparently the filmmakers must have thought, this is a great setup for a sequel, so let's leave it open-ended. Which really sucks, because it's not even a climax worth waiting for, and then they give us this anticlimactic climax. But alright, so Tim Thomerson picks him up. He's all cool. His head's bandaged. Alright, hop in, princess. We're going to town. And they drive off, and the last shot is the friggin' Jeep coming right at us and spewing dirt in our faces. Then the credits roll. After you clean yourself off, God, man. I feel disgusting after sitting through this movie. Let's watch it again. That's what I said when I was in the theater as a kid watching this shit. It's terrible, though. It's really low budget. It's a really derivative Road Warrior ripoff piece of crap, which I own, along with Spacehunter. And the really sad part is, the Road Warrior is not even in my movie collection. What is wrong with me? I don't know. I need to get out into the desert and go pick up a copy of this, or I don't know, whatever, man. Maybe Mike Preston can explain, no, you bought the wrong movie. No, you should have the Road Warrior. All right, sorry, dude. I didn't mean it. So a little bit of trivia about Metalstorm, because we really need to hear it. I should tell you more about R. David Smith, who really didn't get his real moment to shine in Metalstorm, unfortunately. But, that stunt man with the missing part of an arm appeared in some great movies after this. He was in Predator 2. He was the Predator that fell off the building after Danny Glover, disarmed him, I guess. And he's also one of the robots, the welder in AI, the Spielberg movie. So he's got some great shit on his resume there, and it was pretty impressive that he did this and these other movies, even though he's not much of an actor, I guess, but that's not what he's there for. Somehow there was a video game planned and even some footage shot during Metalstorm to make a video game out of, and that never surfaced, no. But, another bad movie got made into a video game, Megaforce. And it's just maybe a tiny smidge better than Metalstorm, and I don't even remember seeing that more than once anyway. So Metalstorm is definitely the more memorable of the films. And it's just good, that Empire Pictures was actually able to produce some decent garbage after this, all the Trancers movies, and the Dungeon Master's pretty decent. Overall, I'd say, these are two of the guiltiest pleasures you could possibly indulge in, with or without 3D glasses. And I'm just glad we got through it all, and, go watch them, man. They're not that bad. Maybe just waste 3 hours of your life. It's not so bad. I'm sure they spent at least 4 hours making these movies, so come on, give the filmmakers a little bit of a break and appreciate what they did here. Well, thank you all for hunting space and braving the storm of metal with me, and I hope to see you all again soon on another episode. We've got something really epic planned next time around, so make sure you're there, and I promise, no 3D. Oh, and you can take off your 3D glasses. I'm sure your eyes are aching in your skull right now. Thanks for indulging me on these terrible movies. On a final note, why would I ever do a podcast in 3D? Well, I've been told my material lacks dimension, so now you got 3 of them. Hope you enjoyed, and, whatever they say in the desert, may the sandworms of Arrakis be at your side, or whatever. The water of life. See you all next time on Missing Real.
Your end is near, podcaster.